The head of the UN peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo says UN troops deployed in the east of the country will start transferring their responsibilities to the DR government next year. The decision follows calls by the DRC government for the UN peacekeeping force to start withdrawing its troops for reportedly failing to stop armed groups from attacking civilians. CGTN's Chris Ochamringa has more from North Kivu province.
UN troops try to keep the peace in a volatile region of eastern DRC. The force, known as MONUSCO, has come under criticism for failing to protect civilians from armed groups. The fighting has claimed hundreds of lives and forced millions of people to flee their homes since 1998.
We have one of the largest number of internally displaced people on the continent, and it is in DRC with over 6,300,000 people being internally displaced.
Many of the displaced people live in crowded camps. This camp hosts thousands of people who fled the combat zones of Rutshuru territory in eastern DRC. Life here is difficult for the elderly, the disabled, and pregnant women living in these makeshift shelters. Benjamin Sendabire fled his home in Rutshuru territory last year after fighting broke out between the M23 rebels and government troops.
All we are asking for is for peace to be restored in our area. God should help us so that the conflict ends and we return home. We want to go back home to live our ordinary lives.
The DRC has more than 120 armed groups operating in the mineral-rich regions of the east of the country. The resurgence of the M23 rebels in late 2021 is what triggered the hostility against the UN peacekeepers. The DRC government accused MONUSCO of inaction and asked the mission to start pulling its troops out after the elections in December. The head of the UN peacekeeping mission says a joint transition team is already in place to ensure the withdrawal is done in a gradual and responsible manner.
For us, we are looking at implementing the joint transition, again I insist on joint transition, during the year of 24, and handing over responsibilities, primary responsibilities to the government, and with support being provided by the agencies, funds and program, in other words, the United Nations country team.
The DRC Army says it's preparing to take over the roles that the UN peacekeepers have been playing.
Nous avons un plan de transition.
We have a transition plan which has activities that we are expected to implement with MONUSCO. Once those activities are done, MONUSCO will leave, and I'm sure our army will be able to take over the responsibilities of securing our country.
The UN Security Council deployed the first UN peacekeeping mission in the DRC in 1999 to observe a ceasefire. But there's been an increase in armed violence against civilians over the years, which has made many Congolese lose confidence in the UN troops. The DRC government and the UN have committed to ensure that the withdrawal of the Blue Helmets does not leave a vacuum that militia groups will exploit. Chris Ochamringa, CGTN, North Kivu Province.